All right, we're going to jump right in with this unfinished wooden sign I got at Hobby Lobby. It's actually 18.5 by 14 inches. And we're going to make something super pretty with this. We're going to start by using some heavy body gel. This is by Pentart. And this stuff is amazing. It can be used as a glue, which is what we're going to use it for right now. Also a stencil paste. It's an amazing glue. Anything that you want to adhere on to something, if you use heavy body gel, it's not going to come off. And later you'll see another technique that we're going to use it for. But I want to make sure that I get a nice layer on this for our next step. Just make sure you take your time when you're applying your image, because once you get it down, you're not going to lift it back up. So use your brayer to get out the wrinkles. And of course, if you don't have heavy body gel, you could always use Mod Podge. I'm going to go in with this picture, and this is a very nice high quality picture that I got on Etsy, and I'll try to link it down below. But to apply it, I covered it with some parchment and taken my brayer and going over the whole thing. Now you'll notice that I have this a little crooked, but later you won't even notice that it's crooked. So I'm just going to keep working with it. Off camera, I tried to lift it a little bit and the backing was completely stuck. So I left it. There was no way that I was going to damage this picture. So I'm going to go in with some more heavy body gel, and I'm just going to do a whole layer. I want to cover the whole thing. And this is not only going to seal in our picture, it's going to create the illusion that this is an oil painting, but there's another step that I got to do after this is dry. But if you recreate this, just make sure that you cover your entire photo or painting, whatever you're going to use it on, first. While that's drying, I'm going to work with my Trimmings 4 mold, and this is by IOD. Dusting the design to my right, and this has beautiful swirls and flowers, lots of roses. So I have my Daz air dry clay, and you can see I rolled it out because this is about 3 inches. So this is going to take lots of clay. So if you recreate something similar, make sure that you have plenty of clay on hand, because you go through it rather quickly. So as you can see, I'm pushing that clay in with my thumbs, using my roller to get it into my mold, and then rolling it back to release it. Just make sure you really push your clay into those molds. That's where you're going to get your definition, all the details. So just take your time on this. It can be quite time consuming, but the end result is so worth it. I made a total of 6 of these, so I'm going to let you watch as I get all of these cast. One thing that I love about the Trimmings mold is how the sides are made up to match. So you can place each cast right next to the other and create one continuous flowing design. But once I have all my castings made, all I'm going to do is go in with my Tight Bond Quick and Thick and get that glue all over the back of my castings, making sure not to use too much because I don't want overflow getting onto my picture, but just a nice thin layer is plenty. And if you don't have molds, you could always make sure to paint the wood and then add your image and maybe stencil all around the sides. And you could also use transfers. This would look really pretty with the Madeline transfers that just came out. They are so many beautiful florals and ones that you could use as a border that would look so nice with this. This putty knife is going to give me nice clean edges. Just make sure that you do this step before your clay dries. Now that my heavy body gel is dry, this is where I'm going to go in with a technique that's going to create that oil painting finish. So I'm going in a cross hatch motion all over my picture. I was able to get back to this about 4 days later, and by then I did notice quite a bit of cracking, which is honestly very common when working with clay, especially when you're adding a lot of castings. But you know what? This is our easy fix. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to build up more detail. I pulled out my Victoriana mold by IOD and cast a bunch of these roses. I trimmed off the stems, just pulled them off easily. I didn't need that portion. All I wanted was the blossoms. And this not only helps cover all those cracked areas, but it also adds another beautiful layer of dimension and gives the design more of a soft 3D dimensional look, in my opinion. I love how this looks, but I felt like something was missing. So I took out my Timeless Ties mold and cast 4 of these beautiful bows. The shape of them just feels perfect for the corners, I think, almost like they were designed to frame the piece and add, another decorative detail. And I think these are absolutely beautiful. They're a bit delicate, but I'm not too concerned about any breakage since we can easily piece it back together. That's the beauty of working with clay. And that's it for this stage of the project. I end up leaving it for about 6 hours, and then I go in with some paint. And I'm going to use Waverly's chalk paint in the color ink. And I'm going to do one full coat, focusing on getting this paint right down into the lower parts of this. I want to make sure that all of my clay is covered, and this paint does such a nice job. And I did let that paint dry for about a full day since there's so much detail in these castings and the paint really settles down into all those low points. After that, I went in with some metallics, and I first tried this soft pink over the roses thinking it would complement them beautifully, but it just wasn't covering the black the way I hoped. So instead, I switched to my bronze Lux Metallic and brushed that all over the castings to really highlight all those raised details. Then I went in with some gold rub and buff and ended up going over all the roses that I cast, and then continued over some of the roses in the design. And I absolutely love how this step adds contrast and brings out all that dimension. And lastly, I finished it off with a very light dry brushing of Oyster Pearl. It's like a white metallic paint, and that's it. I love this. Guys, I couldn't be happier with how this came out, and I want to know what you think of this one. I love how the deep black base and the metallic gold and bronze highlights, the whole piece started to take on this dark, moody, almost regal feel. It has like a rich, elegant look where the details really stand out without feeling overly bright. And I also included this shot where you can really see how that heavy body gel made the surface almost look like a real oil painting. And I truly feel like that detail is what really completes the overall look. And the rabbit adds that perfect touch of charm, looking like a sophisticated little gentleman nestled right into all of that ornate detail. And honestly, he looks quite proud to be himself. I have another bunny for you. This one, we're using one of these frames that you can find at the Dollar Tree. And I got this canvas at Goodwill, and I didn't know until I just opened it up that it's a paint by number, and it totally caught me off guard. I was like, what am I gonna do with this? But of course I saved it because I'm a crafter and I save everything. But we're gonna just use the canvas. It's all wrinkly, so I'm gonna use the center where it's pretty much not all wrinkled. And I don't even know what this picture is supposed to be. If you can tell, let me know in the comments, but I used the backing to trace out my canvas. Then I covered the whole thing in casement, and that's by Fusion. I am having such a time with words today, guys. Do you ever experience that? Because I'm telling you, some days I'm completely fine, and then others, it's just hard. The whole day is just hard to talk. But I covered the whole backing in some tight bond quick and thick, and the reason why it's white, because I had painted it white thinking I was going to use it as is and not add the canvas, but I decided it looks so much better with the canvas. And then I took out these transfers. This is Redesign's most recent release, and I'm taking all of these flowers, and I'm also going to cut that large tree you see there. If you haven't worked with Redesign transfers, I will tell you that they like a sealed surface. Fusion's paint is perfect because it has both a primer and a sealer, and this is going to make transferring over this image a breeze. So I'm rubbing and pulling back on my transfer sheet as I go, and this is really fast because a lot of this is so time consuming. I speed up a lot of my work because, I want you to be able to watch it but not fall asleep through it. And then I'm adding the tree, and I added it up the top there because that's going to look like the tree is in the background. Now I'm going to take IOD's new stamps and some resin, and I'm going to begin pouring this cute little bunny. This is their Lapin mold and wreaths and swags. Lapin means rabbit, but you know what? I'm calling it my bunny mold. It's just easier to say. I'm not going to be using all of these castings, but while I have my resin out, I just pour until I'm out. And I'm usually good about wearing my gloves, and at times I wear a mask, but I typically always have my gloves on. If you work with resin, make sure you have at least your gloves on. But this cures in 10 minutes, and this is sped up, of course, but I just wanted you to see how quickly it does set up. You can just keep right working. This one is a partial mold, and there's a reason for it. We're going to use that in our design, and I didn't want the basket, but while my resin is still warm, this is the perfect time to start shaping the castings and gently curling them so that they fit the design. When the resin is still warm, it's much more flexible and easier to mold right into place. If there's any overpour, this is the best time to go ahead and do your trim work while everything is still nice and soft. I'm really just playing around with the layout and having fun, moving the pieces around and seeing what feels right. And because the frame has that beautiful arch shape, I thought it would be really fitting to place the rabbit so it looks like he's standing right in the archway, almost like he's peeking out from his own little garden gate. But as I was talking there, you can see that I'm using Gorilla Glue gel. I really like that when working with resin, and also a dye of hot glue, and that's just going to tack it down while my super glue dries. But you know what? I don't really necessarily need the hot glue because this really does set up rather quickly. And if you don't have resin, you can absolutely use clay or even hot glue in your molds. I know a lot of people have great success with hot glue. Just use whatever works best for you and what you have on hand. For this casting, I really only want the floral detail, so I'm carefully trimming away the basket portion of the design. This particular mold includes that basket element, but I'm just going to remove it. And it cuts fairly easy, even though it looks like it's resisting a little bit. And I'm going to go in with more super glue gel and a little bit of hot glue and adhere this right to the top. So it kind of looks like there's maybe a trellis on the top and florals are just kind of draping downward. And now I have my bunny here and I'm painting the whole thing the color Casement, and that's by Fusion. I used that earlier, and just making sure I get into all the details of this sweet little bunny. So I'm stippling all over him and just making sure I got full coverage. And then from there, I'm going to go over my frame and all my castings, repeating the same process. I let that dry, and then I take Paint Couture's Light Brown Sugar Glaze, and this is really going to bring forward all those beautiful details. It's such a warm, soft tone, and it adds the prettiest glow across the surface while settling into all the crevices and those low points. This step really helps define what I'm painting because I'm going to go in with paint, and it makes the molding and texture really stand out so much more. So I'm using my water mister to gently pull back some of that glaze and then go in with a damp paper towel to wipe away the excess. I'll work my way around the entire frame like this, removing just enough so those details stay highlighted while keeping that warm glow in the crevices. And I really enjoy dabbling with my paper towel because it softens the glaze and adds texture and gives the frame that aged vintage look. And after that, I'm going to take Van Dyke Brown onto my bunny. And this is such a deep, rich color. And I really want to work it into all those low points and surrounding details. This helps create more contrast and separation, especially so my bunny doesn't visually blend into the frame and can stand out as the focal point. You can find this fencing at Hobby Lobby in the wood section where all the unfinished wood pieces are, and also in the fairy garden aisle. It's rather inexpensive. I'm going to paint this the color belly slipper, and this is a Lux Metallic paint by Paint Couture, and all it needs is one coat. That's the beauty of working with metallics, that you don't need a lot to achieve the color that you're looking for. And you can buy these 4-ounce jars for $4.95, and a little bit goes a long way. I'm going to begin painting all the florals in this piece and the greenery. So I'm using the color Maze, and that's by Waverly. It's chalk paint, and I'm going to go really fast on this. I'm going to list the paints in the description box and let you just watch me paint. And back to my bunny, I'm going to lightly dry brush some white chalk paint over the entire piece. I'm really making sure to offload my brush first so that the paint just kisses the surface, allowing all that beautiful detail and the low points to still shine through. And I really love how this looks. For his eyes, I'm going to lightly brush some black chalk paint in them. And then I'll let those dry, and then I will add just a little bit of white for his pupil. And this really brings my sweet little bunny to life. And then I took some Tim Holtz distressing and lightly brushed over his nose and his little cheeks there. And his ears. Can't forget the ears, right? And this is where I'm adding his pupils. I'm using Oyster Pearl. This is Lux Metallic by Paint Couture. And I feel like the pupil always brings the eye to life. Look at how cute he is. And now that my extreme guard is all dry, I'm going to go back over everything with some Van Dyke Brown. Some of that definition got lost in the chalk paint, so I'm pushing the Van Dyke Brown into all those low points, and it really does bring back all the detail and really just makes the whole piece shine. And I'll lightly dry brush a little bit of that maize over the flowers again. And I'll also add a little bit of the pink back in and then the green. I'm going to finish off my bow with a little bit of antique gold metallic, and this is just going to add a little brightness to it. Now I'm going to glue my bunny right into the center using some more of that super glue gel and a dite of hot glue. And then I'm going to add my little fence here. And that is it for this sweet little bunny project. I absolutely love IOD's new molds, and I am so excited to keep using them throughout the spring season. What do you think about today's projects? I have to say I'm rather smitten with both of them, but as always, I truly love hearing your thoughts and which one was your favorite. I really hope I inspired you in some small way today. And if I did, I would love it if you gave this video a like, subscribed, and chat it up with me down in the comments. You know, I always enjoy talking to you there. Thank you for spending time with me today. Until the next one, bye.